Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Janavallabha Girivaradhari Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjan Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjan Yamuna Tira Vanajari Yamuna Tira Vanajari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Trivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Trivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranja Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranja Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranja Iravan Jari Iravan Jari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vijanavallabha Kunja Bihari Jaya Vijanavallabha Vivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranja Iravan Jari Iravan Jari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cha Eva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nastiki. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 1, Chapter 9, verse number 1717. Chapter number 17, 1917. Tasmadidam daiva tantram vyavasya bharata rishabha tasyanu natha natha pahi praja prabhu. I'll read it again. Tasmadidam daiva tantram vyavasya bharata rishabha tasyanuvihito anatha natha pai praja prabho. Tasmat, therefore, idam, this, daivatantram, enchantment of providence only, vyavasya, ascertaining, bharata rishabha, O best among the descendants of Bharat, tasya, by him, anu vihitaha, as desired, anataha, helpless, anathaha, helpless, nath, O master, pahi, just take care of, praja, of the subjects, prabhu, O Lord. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. O best among the descendants of Bharat, Yudhishthir, I maintain, therefore, that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. You are now the appointed administrative head, and my Lord, you should now take care of those subjects who are now rendered helpless. Purport. The popular saying is that a housewife teaches the daughter-in-law by teaching the daughter. Similarly, the Lord teaches the world by teaching the devotee. The devotee does not have to learn anything new from the Lord because the Lord teaches the sincere devotees always from within. Whenever, therefore, a show is made to teach the devotee, as in the case of teachings of Bhagavad Gita, it is for teaching the less intelligent men. A devotee's duty, therefore, is to ungrudgingly accept tribulations from the Lord as a benediction. The Pandavas were advised by Bhishma Dev to accept the responsibility of administration without hesitation. The poor subjects were without protection due to the battle of Kurukshetra, and they were awaiting the assumption of power by Maharaj Yudhishthir. A pure devotee of the Lord accepts tribulations as favors from the Lord. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no mundane difference between the two. We'll read the next verse now. एष वै भगवान् साक्षात् आद्यो नारायणः पुमान् मोहन् मायया लोकम् गुणाश्चरति वृष्णिषु. I'll read again the verse. एष वै भगवान् साक्षात् आद्यो नारायणः पुमान् मोहनं मायया लोकम् Gunashcharati Vishnushi. Eshaha, this, Vai, positively, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Sakshat, original, Adyaha, the first, Narayanaha, the Supreme Lord who lies down on the water, Puman, the Supreme Enjoyer, Mohayan, bewildering, Mayaya, by his self-created energy, Lokam, the planets, Guraha, who is inconceivable, Charati, moves, Vrishnishu, among the Vrishni family. Translation. This Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable, original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayan, the supreme enjoyer, but he is moving amongst the descendants of King Vrishni, just like one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-created energy. purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Vedic system of acquiring knowledge is the deductive process. The Vedic knowledge is received perfectly by disciplic succession from authorities. Such knowledge is never dogmatic, as ill conceived by less intelligent persons. The mother is the authority to verify the identity of the father. She is the authority for such confidential knowledge. Therefore, authority is not dogmatic. In Bhagavad Gita, this truth is confirmed in the second verse of the fourth chapter, and the perfect system of learning is to receive it from authority. The very same system is accepted universally as truth, but only the false arguer speaks against it. For example, modern spacecraft fly in the sky, and when scientists say that they travel to the other side of the moon, men believe these stories blindly because they have accepted the modern scientists as authorities. The authorities speak, and the people in general believe them. But in the case of Vedic truths, they have been taught not to believe. Even if they accept them, they give a different interpretation. Each and every man wants a direct perception of Vedic knowledge, but foolishly they deny it. This means that the misguided men can believe one authority, the scientist, but will reject the authorities of the Vedas. The result is that people have degenerated. Here is an authority speaking about Sri Krishna as the original personality of Godhead and the first Narayan. Even such an impersonalist as Acharya Shankar has said in the beginning of his commentation on Bhagavad Gita that Narayan, the personality of Godhead, is beyond the material creation. The universe is one of the material creations, but Narayan is transcendental to such material paraphernalia. Bhishmadev is one of the 12 Mahajans who know the principles of transcendental knowledge. His confirmation of Lord Krishna being the original personality of Godhead is also corroborated by the impersonalist Shankara. All other acharyas have also confirmed this statement, and thus there is no chance of not accepting Lord Krishna as the original personality of Godhead. Lord Shri Krishna as the original personality of Godhead. Vishnudev says that he is the first Narayan. This is also confirmed by Brahmaji in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-14. Krishna is the first Narayan. In the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, there are unlimited numbers of Narayan, who are all the same personality of Godhead and are considered to be the plenary expansions of the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The first form of the Lord, Sri Krishna, first expands himself as the form of Baladev, and Baldev expands in so many other forms, such as Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, Narayana, Purusha, Ram, Narasimha. All these expansions are one and the same Vishnu Tattva, and Sri Krishna is the original source of all the plenary expansions. He is therefore the direct personality of Godhead. He is the creator of the material world, and he is the predominating deity known as Narayan in all the Vaikuntha planets. Therefore, his movement amongst human beings are another sort of bewilderment. The Lord therefore says in Bhagavad Gita that foolish person consider him to be one of the human beings without knowing the intricacies of his movements. The bewilderment regarding Sri Krishna is due to the action of his twofold internal and external energy upon the third one called marginal energy. Living entities are expansions of his marginal energy, and thus they are sometimes bewildered by the internal energy and sometimes by the external energy. By internal energetic bewilderment, Sri Krishna expands himself into unlimited numbers of Narayanas and exchanges or accepts transcendental loving service from the living entity in this transcendental world. And by his external energetic expansion, he incarnates himself in the material world amongst the men, animals, or demigods to re-establish his forgotten relationship with the living entities and different species of life. Great authorities like Bhishma, however, escape his bewilderment by the mercy of the Lord. So this is Shloka number 19, chapter 9, canto 1st. Asyanubhavam Bhagavan Vedaguhyatamam Shivaha Devardishi Naradaha Sakshad Bhagavan Kapilo Nirpa. I'll read it again. Asyanubhavam Bhagavan Vedaguhyatamam Shivaha Devardishi Naradaha Sakshad Bhagavan Kapilo Nirpa. Asya, of whom, of him. Anubhavam, glories. Bhagavan, the most wonderful, powerful. Veda knows. Guhyatamam, very confidentially. Shiva, Lord Shiva. Devarishi, the great sage among the demigods. Naradaha, Narad. Saksha, directly. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Kapila, Kapila, Nripa, O King. Translation: O King, Lord Shiva, Narada, the sage amongst the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very confidentially about his glories through direct contact. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Pure devotees of the Lord are all Buddhas, or persons who knows the glories of the Lord in different transcendental loving services. As the Lord has innumerable expansions of his plenary form, there are innumerable pure devotees of the Lord who are engaged in the exchange of service of different humors. Ordinarily, there are 12 great devotees of the Lord, namely Brahma, Narada, Shiva, Kumara, Kapila, Manu, Prahalad, Bhishma, Janaka, Sukadev Goswami, Bali Maharaj, and Yamaraj. Bhishmadev, although one of them has mentioned only three important names of the 12 who know the glories of the Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the great acharyas in the modern age, explains that Anubhava, or the glory of the Lord, is first appreciated by the devotee in ecstasy, manifesting the symptoms of perspiring, trembling, weeping, bodily eruptions, etc., which are further enhanced by steady understanding of the glories of the Lord. Such different understanding of bhavas are exchanged between Yashoda and the Lord, binding the Lord by ropes, and in the chariot driving by the Lord in the exchange of love with Arjun. These glories of the Lord are exhibited in his being subordinated before his devotees, and that is another feature of the glories of the Lord. Sukadev Goswami and the Kumaras, all situated in the transcendental position, became converted by another feature of a bhava and turned into pure devotees of the Lord. Tribulations imposed upon the devotees of the Lord constitute another exchange of transcendental bhava between the Lord and the devotees. The Lord says, I put my devotee into difficulty, and thus the devotee becomes more purified in exchanging transcendental bhava with me. Placing the devotees into material troubles means delivering him from the illusory material relations. Material relations are based on reciprocation of material enjoyment, which depends mainly on material resources. Therefore, when material resources are withdrawn by the Lord, the devotee is 100% attracted towards the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Thus, the Lord snatches the fallen soul from the mire of material existence. Tribulations offered by the Lord to his devotee are different from the tribulations resulting from vicious actions. All these glories of the Lord are especially known to great Mahajans like Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Kapila, Kumara, Bhishma, as mentioned above, and one is able to grasp it by their grace. Om Ajnanam Timrindasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So these are very wonderful verses that we just read through, and Srila Prabhupada's commentary is very, very elaboratively explaining the finer details. Srila Prabhupada's purpose, they are like the torchlight, magnifying what is being spoken and giving us very great detail of clarity as to what is being said and how we can understand it. Now, the scenario at this moment is that the battle of Kurukshetra been has completed, and there are millions of warriors who laid their life down for their respective um, kings. And now, when Kauravas were completely defeated and Pandavas were established as the rightful owner of the kingdom of Hastinapur, which comprises of entire Bharatvarsha at that time, Maharaj Yudhishthir, he was coronated as the king. Now Maharaj Yudhishthir is a soft-hearted devotee of the Lord. In his heart, he's going through these very, very difficult situation. Initially, if you remember, Arjun was putting forward his arguments that why should he fight? Oh Krishna, why should I fight for some material acquisition if that involves massacre of thousands and millions of warriors? And not only that, my own blood relations, such as my own great grandfather Bhishma Pitamaha, my own teachers, Dronacharya, my own brothers. Why should I even fight with them? And therefore, he actually was giving up. But when Krishna gave him the transcendental knowledge and explained him the reason as to why should he fight to establish dharma, then they started the war, wherein Arjun surrendered his free will to the will of the Lord, the perfection of all devotion. So after this ghastly warfare, dharma was established, righteousness was established, virtue must win. And when Yudhishthira Maharaj was seeing that what has happened in the war, he was feeling very compassionate and he was feeling very, very responsible in his own heart. He was feeling that how he has become responsible for all this and how it has all happened because of him. He started to feel that he is a sinful person who has deliberately put this war into place and is responsible for killing thousands and thousands and millions of people. He was given explanations, but he was not satisfied in the heart. And by Lord's arrangement, it was so. Because Lord wanted him to come to the battle of Kurukshetra and come before Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev was benedicted that he would leave his body when he wants. It's a benediction which is very, very rare to achieve. Because in the material world, whoever has taken birth must die. Every birth has come with an expiry date. However, Bhishma Dev was given this benediction that he can live as long as he wants. So he was already defying the modes of nature or the material foundation and conditioning upon the conditioned souls. This Bhishma Dev, when he was laid down in the battle of Kurukshetra by Arjun and with the help of Shikhandi, he was now lying on the bed of arrows. His body was completely wounded and all the blood of his body was squeezed out. Still, he was maintaining his life and soul into that body. Krishna wanted to glorify Bhishma Dev. He wanted to tell this world that how a pure devotee of the Lord is always transcendental in whatever situation he may be in. So, Krishna brought Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pandavas before Bhishma Dev. So as soon as they arrived, Bhishma Dev spoke with compassion to Yudhishthira. Of course, Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the five Pandavas, they bowed down to Bhishma Dev and sat before him to hear the words of wisdom that Bhishma Dev was going to share. Bhishma Dev established, "Oh Yudhishthira, don't you think that you are responsible for any of this? You were supported, you are a Dharmaraj yourself. You cannot do any mistake. Not only that, you are supported by your brother Arjun, who is a Gandhivadhari, who is nobody can stand before him in the war. Supported by Bhima, who is so powerful, Nakul Sahadev, wise, uh, such such a powerful brotherhood. Not only that, you are also being benedicted as a constant companion, as a constant companion. Swam Bhagavan Lord Krishna is with you. Still, still you have to go through so many tribulations. So that was not because of you yourself. Then he said this wonderful golden verse. सर्वकाल कृतं मन्ये भवतां च यत् प्रियं सपालो यद्दशे लोको वायुरेव घनावली. He says, in my opinion, everything that is happening is due to the inevitable time. Sarvakal kritam manye, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried. So, just like so many planets are controlled by the movement of air, and this movement of air is controlled by the time, just like the clouds are carried away by the wind. And these clouds are very heavy. There's tons and tons and tons of water inside these clouds. Yet, wind is carrying them like it's carrying the cotton flying in the air. Similarly, living entities, they are inflicted by the time factor who is Krishna himself. So Bhishma explained that your situation, your tribulations, they will all have come because of the time factor. Not that you are sinful. You have not committed any sin at all. But sometimes Lord Krishna, in the form of time, is playing with his devotees. He's putting them in tribulations. He's putting Kunti Maharani also in great tribulations. Why? First of all, Kunti Maharani's husband, Pandu, he left quite early on and left Kunti with so many young children. Later on, Kunti Maharani was suffering because not of her own suffering, because the suffering of her children. Mother feels the pain more than anybody else can ever feel, or more than the children who are going through the pain. Mother will feel more pain, or parents feel more pain. So, such tribulations, and one can ask, why? Why such tribulations to devotees? Why? Why do they have to go through this material miseries? And Srila Prabhupada has beautifully explained in the verse and purports that these material miseries, they are not at all material miseries for the devotees. Devotees, they know that Supreme Lord is always protecting them. And they are protected by the, the internal energy of the Lord. But those, who are not devotees, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7:15, Namam dushkritano mudha prapadyante naradhamaha maya aprahittagyana asuram bhavamashritah. There are many living entities who would not surrender unto me, a grossly foolish people, mudas, lowest of mankind, naradhamas, and they're speculators or atheists, maya prahittagyana, dushkritnas. They're making their material schemes. And krit means making some nice plans, and dushkritana, making these plans which are not conducive to obtain the aim of life. It is established here that Krishna is God himself. And we know in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has spoken these words very clearly. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante bham buddha bhava samanvitaha. Buddhas, these are intelligent people. They are not Muda. They are not Duskritina, Naradhamas, or Maya Prahitagyanas. They are Buddhas, very intelligent people. They understand that everything is emanating from Krishna. They understand that Krishna's birth and Krishna's disappearance is all divine. Janma karma chame divyam yo veti tattvataha tattvadeham punarjanma naeti mameti swarjuna. So Bhishma Dev here is one of those devotees who is explaining to the world that this Krishna, who looks like one of us, one of ours, like living entity, is Narayan himself, the supreme personality of Godhead. Now, Bhishma Dev, who is Bhishma Dev? What is his authorities to speak like this? It is clearly explained that Bhishma Dev is one of the 12 Mahajans, 12 great devotees of the Lord. And we know of many of them, like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva. These are the highest authorities. Brahmaji, Shivji, then Narad Dev is there. Our entire parampara is coming through Narad Dev. And we have four Kumaras that we know of. Kumar Sampradaya is there. Kapila Muni, who's the incarnation of the Lord. Then there's Manu. Then Prajapatis, Prahlad, the greatest devotee of the Lord. Janak Maharaj is there. Sukadev Goswami, who has spoken Srimad Bhagavatam to us. Bali Maharaj, Yamaraj, and finally the Bhishma Dev. The Bhishma Dev is in the league of these kind of devotees who are able to perceive the Lord or able to experience Anubhava, the glory of the Lord, by direct perception. By direct perception. They don't need any evidences. They are the seers of the truth. And when the seers of the truth are telling, then that is the truth. One can accept. Now, Lord is very merciful, Lord is very kind, and therefore he creates situation in the life of devotees. A devotee can surrender to Krishna. Because of his attachment, sometimes a conditioned soul is unable to really surrender unto the Lord. It is also mentioned in the purport that we read that a devotee doesn't need to ask questions to understand what is that Lord wants. But just like a daughter-in-law is taught by teaching the daughter, Krishna picks up his own devotees who are his devout devotees, and he teaches the world that how he can be obtained, how transcendental devotional service can be executed, how can one come out of this cycle of death, old age, disease. In this way, Krishna puts different devotees in a situation which are very, very difficult situations. And we see how Pandava's life was full of difficulties from very childhood. From very childhood, children of king getting raised in forests. And when they come to the kingdom, they were given second-class treatment. And when they grow up, as they were growing up, they were being attempted to be killed by their own in various ways, poison, fire, or uh, asking them to leave for many years. Like this, they were suffering all the time. But were they really suffering? Yudhishthira Maharaj always remained tolerant, always remained calm, never left uh, anything, never did anything that is not considered to be virtuous, righteous. Even in very, very difficult situation, he was always behaving according to dharma. He was not pulled by his senses, by his mind, by the demands of the circumstances. He stood by dharma, but he is Dharmaraj himself, of course. Even when such tribulations, like his own wife was being disrobed, he, he kept his composure because on the hindsight, he always knew this. Everything is in the hands of Kal. Everything is in the hands of Vasudev, Krishna. Now, in this particular assembly, there were many, many learned personalities who were present before Bhishma Dev. There was Parvat Muni, there was Narad Dev, Dhamma Rishi, Vyasadev, who is the incarnation of Lord himself. It is through Vyas that we know the birth of Vidur, the birth of Dhritarashtra and Pandu took place by the order of his mother Satyavati in the wombs of Ambika and Ambalika. Such personalities, and Vyasdev is being the brother of Bhishma Dev. Rishi Bharadwaj, Parshuram. Parshuram is the incarnation of the Lord and his disciples. Vashishta Rishi, these are very powerful rishis, and we know their presence from Dwapar Yuga to Treta Yuga, from Lord Ram to Lord Krishna. So Asita, even Sudarshan was present, Sudarshan Chakra, in the personal form of the Lord. So such assembly, Kashyap Rishi, Angirasha, and even Sukadev Goswami himself was present in this assembly. So you can understand, or one can understand, the uh, importance of this occasion where Lord Krishna is present, who is the personality of Godhead. All these accomplished, celebrated devotees of the Lord are present, who are pure, unalloyed devotees of the Lord. Then are present the objects of affection of the Lord, Pandavas, and is present the Bhishma Dev, who is describing the glories of the Lord. Still, people who are atheists do not want to believe in the Lord. They put their faith in so-called material advancements, which is temporary in nature, which will be fallen apart as soon as the body is fallen apart. They are putting faith in so-called material science, which is important, but not giving the absolute knowledge, not giving the knowledge of the eternal truth. And such knowledge is being imparted here by Bhishma Deva. Why is it that Pandavas are so dear to the Lord? Even Bhishma Deva is so dear to the Lord. There's a beautiful verse in Canto 10. Tatte anukampam su samikshmano bhunjano evatmakritam vipakam hridvag vapurvir vidadhana namaste Jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bhak. It says Lord is saying that he waits for bestowing his causeless mercy upon those who are patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering respectful obeisances within his heart to the Lord by his words, by his body, and such people are surely eligible for liberation because it becomes their rightful claim. So when a devotee does not react and only accepts the miseries of this world as benedictions given by the Lord. Why benedictions? Because anything that can detach this mind, this soul from the body has to be considered as a well-wishing incident for a devotee. Because a devotee is always wanting to come closer to Krishna. And what is coming in the way? The attachment to the material world, the attachment to the material desires. Heart is full of material desires. If the heart is full of material desires and the hope that this material world will give some kind of happiness at some point in time, if that hope continues in the heart, the hope to achieve liberation ultimately, merge with the Lord, one, become one with the God. All these hopes, if they are sitting like witches in the heart of the pure of devotees of the Lord, then they will not be able to accomplish the goal of their life. Therefore, sometimes Lord puts situations in front of before devotees that the attachment to the matter, the attachment to the material life is broken. It could be painful, so be it. But just like a father is bringing discipline to the child by giving small punishments, cannot say punishments, small difficult situations, so that child can learn and be on his feet and bring glories to his parents later on. Similarly, the Lord plays his act. And sometimes we see devotees like Yudhishthir, Arjuna, they are, or Bhishmadev, they are suffering, so-called suffering, but they do not treat it as suffering. They only treat it as one of their own, one of the benedictions from the Lord. But it says, the Srila Prabhupada referred to one verse in the purport, Narayana Paraha, Narayana Paraha Sarve, Na Kutaschana Bibhyati, Swarga Pavarga Narakeshwa, Apitulyartha Darshinaha. Devotees who are engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality, what are they called? They are called Narayan Paraha. They are only interested in the service of Narayan. Narayan Paraha Sarve Na Kutaschanaha. They're not afraid. They're never fearful in any condition of life, any condition. It says from for them, Swarg, Apavarg, Narakeshwa. Swarg, heavenly planets, or liberations, Apavarga, or the hellish planets. They're all the same. They don't desire that, oh, let me be in the Golok Vrindavan Dham. Oh, no, that's okay. But they're also okay to be in hellish planets. For such devotees are interested only in one thing. Because they are Narayan Para, they are only interested in the service of the Lord. By their minds, by their words, by their actions. And that is the supreme goal of life. How one engages his senses into the service of the Lord. If one is able to do that, that is the perfection of life. And any situation which is presented before a living entity, to be able to perform this beautiful transcendental service into the Lord, and that is the perfection of life. So in Act of Devotion, it is explained very beautifully that how one reaches from uh, from various stages of bhakti, how one passes through various stages of bhakti. Sadhana bhakti and bhava bhakti is there. Sadhana bhakti refers to the regulative principles, and these are the basic principles where our faith becomes very strong in Krishna consciousness. And gradually, when sadhana bhakti, by following the regulative principles, one come to the platform of nishtha and higher platforms, then one could go to the platform of bhava bhakti. One cannot come to the state of bhava bhakti without going through the regulative principles of sadhana bhakti. This is a big illusion that one can reach to a bhava bhakti. And many so-called pseudo devotees or artificially portraying them to be the platform of bhava bhakti and trying to bring such emotions which are there in bhava bhakti. In the bhava bhakti, one becomes associated with the Lord in one of the rasas. Yeah, it could be Shantaras, it could be Dasyaras, Sakhyaras, Vasalyaras, Madhuryaras. Within Madhurya, it could be Parakya, Aparakyaras. So, Bhava Bhakti is the platform of purified goodness. And in that goodness, the heart of a devotee melts because of devotional service and is able to experience the subtle and very fine emotions of Krishna Bhakti. Mm. And in such emotions are mentioned in the purport of Srila Prabhupada there, and which were also manifested in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we will stop our talk here. There was a mention of Mother Yashoda, how Mother Yashoda, uh, how Mother Yashoda was able to see the Lord as her own son. This is the month of Kartik, and we are all worshipping Lord Damodar and offering ghee lamps to Lord Damodar in the month of Kartik. So, Lord, I'll just speak for 2 minutes more. Uh, how Lord in Chaitanya Chaitamrita is expressing that although this universe is filled with the conception of His majesty, so Lord's majesty, supremacy is experienced by everybody. But He says that but if the love towards me is weakened by the majesty, by that awe and reverence, because once you are in awe and reverence, you bow down. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. What is the result of that? You bow down to Krishna. So He's the Supreme Lord. You understand that His powers are unlimited. His wealth is unlimited. His opulences are unlimited. He's eternal. And just knowing that as a fact, you bow down. You start worshipping Him. But Krishna is saying that such majestic conception comes in the way between His devotees and Him. How it comes in the way? Because if one regards Supreme Lord as subordinate, one regards Supreme Lord as supreme and himself as subordinate, he does not become subservient to his love. Lord does not become subservient to his love. Now, this we are talking about the platform of Bhava and Raganuga Bhakti. This we are not talking about the Sadhana Bhakti here. Lord is referring to His devotees who are His Raganuga Bhaktas, who are His eternal associates here. In whatever transcendental mellow, Krishna says, my devotee worship me, I reciprocate with him. Ye yatha mam prapadyante. So Krishna is saying that if one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking me as his son, his friend, his beloved, and regarding himself as great and considering me his equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. Then he says, devotional service rendered to me by the living being revives their eternal life. O my dear damsels of Vraja, your affection for me is your good fortune, for this is the only means by which you have obtained my favor. Sometimes my mother binds me as her son. She nourishes and protects me, thinking me utterly helpless. And my friend climb on my shoulders in pure friendship and says, what kind of a big man are you? And we know that how Madhu Mangal, he would claim that when Krishna was, was coiled by Kaliya, it was only because of his mantras that Krishna was relieved. And why Krishna should feel so proud. And there, all the uh, all his parents and um, Gopals and Gopis, they were praying to the Lord, because of which he could be relieved from the snake Kaliya. Similarly, they were talking about Govardhan. In Govardhan, he was saying it was the power of my mantras which was making Govardhan float in the air. And so why should Krishna feel so proud about it? Like that, Mother Yashoda is binding Krishna, feeling him helpless. Hmm? Everybody is scared of the Lord, Supreme Lord. But here, Mother Yashoda's Krishna is scared of Mother Yashoda. And how is that possible? How is such mercy possible? You see, this is because Krishna is saying that I become subordinate to my devotees' love. In that prem, they can bind me. Now, this truth, these finer nuances cannot be understood by those who are not devotees of the Lord. And therefore, Krishna comes and performs his pastimes to attract the conditioned souls who are who are um, bound by the external energy of the Lord. And in the internal energy of the Lord, there is forgetfulness, like Mother Yashoda forgets that he is Krishna. Similarly, in external energy of the Lord, there is forgetfulness. Dushkritana or Naradhama or Mudas, they forget that they have eternal relationship with the Lord, and Lord is their master. And the only way to become happy is surrendering to the Lord. I'll stop here now. If there is any comment or question, we can take it now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for wonderful class. I request devotees to come forward and ask any questions or add or share anything on these verses of their realizations, experiences.
Yeah, if there is no question, that's good. But please do share your point of view, your realizations on Bhishma Dev, Mother Yashoda, transcendental loving affairs between the devotees and the Lord.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Bhaktiman Prabhu, my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna, obeisance to you. Thank you for the wonderful points you raised. Just a question for you. I just want to, if you can just expand on this. At that time, the Kauravas and the Pandavas were present in front of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the Kauravas decided to be opposed to Krishna, whereas the Pandavas were favorable to Krishna, as we can see. Yeah, and so even in the material world, in today's day, we can be aware of Krishna and either be opposed to him, or we can be serving him we can be in devotion and devotional service to him. So how can we ensure even though we are in Krishna consciousness, our consciousness doesn't become like the Kauravas, knowing that Krishna is there and knowing that the Vaishnavas are there, you know, the devotees and things. How do we ensure that we don't become like Kauravas, the Kaurava consciousness or the Kaurava mentality? And can you just expand on the Kaurava mentality as well, please?
Beautiful question, Bhaktiman Prabhu. Thank you for this nice question. See, we have to understand from Krishna's point of view that how is he defining divine consciousness and demoniac consciousness? And the more we understand divine, that's very good. At the same time, Krishna has not shied away in telling about those who have demoniac consciousness, who do not want to love him. It's very difficult to tell someone that this person doesn't love me. This person has this issue, therefore he doesn't love me. It's very easy to talk about how this person loves me and why he loves me. So Krishna has taken that difficult task of explaining us that there are certain people, they will always be on the wrong side. There's always divine and there's always demoniac. So in chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has explained that demoniac people are always thinking that there is no God, there is no foundation, there is no God in control. And why do they think like this? So that they can enjoy the material platform of sense gratification. They are being the strongest of that, which is caused by lust. Now, in such a situation, they are these demoniac personalities, they are always engaged in horrible works, which are meant to destroy the world, to destroy the consciousness, to destroy the animals. Like that, they're completely taking shelter of not God, but they're taking shelter of insatiable lust. And they are absorbed in conceit of false prestige, of pride, and therefore they're always in illusion. The more we understand that the contrary nature, which is a human civilization which is being run on the premise of sense gratification, and because of which they are always going through immeasurable amount of anxieties, bound by the network of thousands and thousands and thousands of desires, which are never going to be fulfilled, securing wealth through so many illegal means, adharmic ways. Prabhupada said this motor civilization, adharmic. The slaughterhouses, adharmic. So I would read this particular purport, text 13 to 15, which says, this is how a demoniac soul thinks. So if devotee is thinking like this, he must understand that within the heart, this demoniac mentality is still playing up. And therefore, the devotee would then surrender. See, this mentality of demoniac mentality was completely exposed to us by the behavior of Kauravas. When Lord Krishna goes to the assembly of Kuru assembly with the message of peace from Yudhishthira Maharaj, that you just give 5 villages. And Duryodhana at that time, he decided that we should capture Krishna, imprison him. If we do that, then he will not be able to support Pandavas, and all the strength and power of Pandavas rests with this person. If we capture him and put him in jail, that will be the end of Kauravas, Pandavas. At that time, Krishna showed his universal form to all those who were present in that assembly. And what did these people concluded out of this incident? Duryodhana said, oh, he's a mystic. He's a mystic. He has got mystic powers, and that's what it is. Whereas the devotees, they know this is the supreme personality of Godhead. And not only that, there's a huge details of how many people try to explain this Duryodhana, that Krishna is supreme. But he didn't just want to know why. This is explained in text 13 to 15 in chapter 16. Because this demoniac person are always thinking, So much wealth do I have today, and I'll gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine, it will increase in the future more and more. This is my enemy, and I've killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I'm the Lord of everything. I'm the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, happy. I'm the richest, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. So Krishna is explaining in text 16 that this is how they are always living in illusion. So if devotees are getting these kind of feelings, uh, wealth, accumulation of wealth, taking pride in the material positions, striving very, very hard to obtain something which is very difficult to obtain, putting all the endeavor into material achievements, not able to focus on the spiritual endeavors. So all this will settle somewhere in the mind that, oh, am I going in the right direction? And that question and reflection will come in the heart. And when that reflection comes, and the association of devotees and getting the right kind of knowledge from the scriptures, from sadhus, from shastra, from guru, from pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada, one is able to then put, put his life to the rightful goal and to the rightful process of devotional services. And that's the only way to surrender unto the Lord. One of the signs of surrender to the Lord is that Lord is going to be looking after us in every situation. Hmm? Rakshati, always will protect me, always without a doubt. And therefore, that is a sign of great surrender. So this feeling that my wealth will protect me, my relatives will protect me, my wonderful palace that I have created, houses that I have created, bank insurances, etc., will protect me. No. A devotee of the Lord leaves all these material shelters and takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, where he feels that Krishna will protect me in whatever situation he'll keep me, he'll protect.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Prabhu. That's wonderful. Thank you. It's really important points. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So there's a question on the chat. Does one become Krishna's devotee by his will? Do we choose Krishna or does Krishna choose us? So beautiful question. So we understand from scriptures that the love for Supreme is not something that we acquire. It is something that is present in the heart. Just like the quality of sugar is sweetness, the quality of fire is heat and light. Similarly, the quality of the soul is to love God, is to love God. And that love is expressed through devotion, rather devotional service. It's a verb. It is not a sentiment in the mind. It is a verb. It's a kriya. You do actions. These actions, which are pleasing to the Lord, they are called devotional service. Yes, it has to be the will of individual, but Krishna does not interfere in the will of living entities. When living entity was in the spiritual world, when he decided by getting attracted by the material energy, that material energy seems like something inferior and I can just lord it over and I can become like Krishna uh, by lording it over, that point in time, Krishna explains, requests, please don't go to my material energy, you'll be lost. But still, Krishna does not interfere in the free will. He allows. When he allows living entity, when he falls into the material pool, material world of insatiable lust and desires, at that point in time, also Krishna is not interfering in the free will. Krishna is providing for air, water, whatever is required for the survival. Present himself in the heart. Suridam sarva bhutanam gyattam am shantim. He's saying, I'm present in the heart. Hridi sannavishto. Matah smritir jnanam apohanam cha. He's saying, I'm present in the heart. I'm giving you remembrance. I'm giving you intelligence. I'm giving you forgetfulness. And all the qualities that we think we have are being given by the Lord. He's sitting as digestive fire in the stomach, and digesting all the food that one is eating. He is also taking care of the prana vayus in our body. So many demigods who are his assistants and devotees, they are helping and making arrangements for the living entities so that we can get these supplies that is necessary and required for the arrangement in this material world. Still, he's waiting. He's waiting for the living entity to turn back and tell him, "Oh, Krishna, you're doing so much for me. Oh, my Lord, I am so indebted. Now let me love you. Let me reciprocate with you." And that time, Krishna becomes very joyous, becomes very happy that this is the moment I was waiting for this living entity to come turn back to me without expectation. Krishna is serving all living entities without any partiality, whether one is an animal body, bird body, beast body, tree body, or a living entity like a human body. Krishna is just waiting and waiting and waiting. And when living entity turns to Krishna, Krishna feels that reciprocation. It is explained that Krishna feels the joy of meeting between a young boy and a young girl. That kind of lovingly feeling comes into his heart and is ready to embrace the living entity. And thereafter, he starts preparing living entity so that living entity gets rid of all the impurities and contaminations and become eligible, purified to be in his company, to be as his companion. So yes, living entity must choose between the matter, material life, or spirit, the spiritual life. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So Karuna Chaitanya Prabhu, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to come and discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, the sublime messages of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said, by regular attendance in classes on Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So thank you for creating this wonderful opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you once again, Manu Prabhu. Very wonderful insights. We love to hear you again and again. And thank you, everyone, participating, attentively hearing the class. Um, we'll meet again next week at the same time. Thank you so much. His Grace Manu Prabhu ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.